All right, so let's begin, guys. In this video, we are going to talk about the reality of working in cybersecurity roles. Okay, we'll cover pros and cons. We'll cover the advantages and disadvantages working in cybersecurity role. So, without taking much time, let's get started. Okay. So, first thing first, let's talk about the pros of working in cybersecurity. Okay. So, the first thing first is the best thing is it's an ever growing field. It's an evolving field, so you get to see new threats. You get to see variety of threats within the same type of attack itself, like DDoS attack, web-based attacks, zero-day exploits, different vulnerability as well, and every vulnerability has their own way of handling and mitigating it. Okay, patch management and everything. So one other thing is you also learn about new defense technique. You will learn how some new techniques which is different from the legacy approach. When I say legacy approach is like firewall, antivirus, but if you look at the advanced technique, that's where we have multiple type of controls, from browser isolation to network segmentation to zero trust approach, and offensive security approach for securing the active directories, for penetration, performing the penetration testing in the cloud. So it's really cool. Now, another thing is you also get to work in the workaround solution, which is very, very interesting. There are some situation where coming up with the permanent solution won't be possible. For example, you have a CVE and it's an emergency, that's a very serious high priority vulnerability, and it also has an exploit. So now you have an emergency situation, but at the same time, you can't really perform a patch because it might impact the business as usual, right? So the solution is to work on maybe virtual patching on web application firewall, or performing some sort of a workaround, creating maybe a firewall rule so that those kind of traffic can be blocked. Even referring to the vendor recommendation as well, and based on it, performing the appropriate action. Now, next good thing about cybersecurity is a high demand, field. I know quite a lot of my friends who have switched from other fields like sales. Many of my friends and students, in fact, lots of my students have switched their career from sales. They've switched their career from IT software testers. They personally find tremendous changes because the opportunity of growing in this career is very fast. The demand is ever growing. I mean, there are still sort of debate about happening about this is not the way it is. There are not a lot of demands. The problem is the demand is for the experienced professional. If you are having an experience, that's a plus. It doesn't matter if it is required to have a lot of security experience. I'm saying no. You should have industry experience. If you even have IT experience of 3 to 4 years and applying for a security job, you still be considered. Okay, so that's very, very important. Job security is pretty good in cybersecurity space. The job security is good because in some of these security roles, it's difficult to become replaceable. I mean, technically everybody is replaceable, but some of the role require very close attention, and replacing that guy sometimes become slightly difficult. Okay, so job security is also very good. You also have a possibility of working in various positions because all the security domains are interrelated. Next, fame. Okay, so fame is very interesting. Trust me. I mean, even I feel so. If you look at any other field like IT, networking, system admin, even if you have spent 20 years into it, the it's less likely that you get notified by rest of the world. But in cybersecurity space, if you become VP of security or maybe CISO someday, maybe down the line in 8 to 10 years, maybe people invite you to join their events. I'm not saying this doesn't happen with the rest of the space. It happens with data science. It happens with the AI space, but it happens with cybersecurity as well. So cybersecurity is really good in that case. You can just search for cybersecurity events on Google. You will get to know yourself. Okay. So you get to get an invite for multiple events to speak up, to share your insight, to share your experience, to share your vision about what all happening. You get awarded as well. So that's very interesting. Okay, now another very important thing is this, the best part about cybersecurity, you also get a chance to do side hustle. Okay, so while you're working, you can also do the training. You can, because cybersecurity, the trainers get paid a lot. Okay, so you can also do the training in cybersecurity. You can do freelancing for certain project, consulting projects. That's possible as well. So the side hustle is very much real in cybersecurity. For an hour or so, people are ready to pay $500 as well. So this is very much possible. I mean, personally, I started doing it in my career from last 5 years back while I was working. So this is very much possible. Let's talk about some cons. Okay, we talked a lot about the pros of it, the advantages, the good side of working in cybersecurity. Let's talk about some bad side of working in cybersecurity. First of all, role matters. What I'm saying, basically, whatever I just talked about in terms of advantages of cybersecurity, this also depends on specific roles. So if you are getting into SOC level 1, you might not find it very exciting. Okay, although I said it's a very exciting role, it's ever evolving role, but in SOC level 1, it's you mostly have to do the threat management, monitoring, looking at the alerts, acknowledging the alerts, perform the triage, removing false positive and everything. So it's not that interesting. Of course, after working for a year or two, you can get promoted to SOC 2. But I'm just giving you a perspective that not all the roles are so happening, so Barbie kind of a thing. There are some, roles which might be having some iterative task as well. So be ready for it. Now, when we talk about SOC level 2 or security architect role or penetration testing role or ethical hacking, AppSec role, DevSecOps role, these are interesting because you get to work a lot, you get to interact with a lot of people, and you tend to do a lot of new things almost every other day. So that's very interesting. Okay. Next, let's talk about pressure. And the second important thing is the high pressure. Cybersecurity is a high pressure situation. Create You get to deal with high pressure situation because there, if you come across an incident, right, data breach or cyber attack like DDoS attack, in those situations, the situation becomes very intense. You have to react very fast, and you have to have a critical thinking about what to do. Should we block those traffic? Should we bypass the traffic? Should we apply the filter or not? Should we, or there are multiple things involved. You should inform to legal team. You should inform to the management team on time. You shouldn't forget anybody to inform. You should keep everyone on this loop. So everything matters during data breaches. So it's a high pressure environment. It's an environment where you also have to be an accountable as well. So if the thing goes wrong, you should be the accountable for it, right? So this is very important. But the plus point is you also learn fast. Okay, the best part is even I've been through it. So because of high pressure situation, because of being accountable, you learn fast. You get a leadership skill in you. So that's very important. um, you can't sit idle, right? You can just, once you get the job, you can't really sit idle. You have to keep improving yourself. You have to keep learning about new vulnerabilities, new exploits, new techniques. You have to learn about new compliance. I mean, your existing compliances itself, there are not a lot of new compliances coming in every other month or every day probably, but you have to learn about frameworks, their jargons, NIST framework, PCI DSS framework. I mean, sorry, compliances, GDPR compliance. So you have to keep learning about it. You should learn about new guidelines. If let's say your organization is opening up and is having a new presence in Middle East somewhere or in European region somewhere, you have to learn about what are the law of the land, right? So you have to learn about what are the compliances and frameworks, guidelines for businesses doing business over there, right? So that's very important. Final thing that I want to talk about as a cons is uh, you have to be ready in working in shift work or long hours, because there could be, maybe let's say you work in a general shift itself, 9 to 5 maybe, and once you come back you got to know that there's a data breach or some incident happened. You should be available during that period, and you probably have to deal in irregular work hours as well. It might not be the case if you are working as a security architect, you are working as a penetration tester, DevSecOps, but it can be a case if you're working in security operation and you're working on the, some on the top level as well. So that's very important. In SOC level 1, it is not expected from you to become available in off hours, but you have to be ready to work in shift if you are interested to start your career as a security analyst or security operations. So that's very, very important. All right. So I hope I covered pros and cons of cybersecurity. Do let me know, if you have any concern, you have any question. This is me, Rajneesh Gupta. Bye for now.